Runescape is an MMORPG that you can get general information on it somewhere else. I'm just here to tell my experience returning to it. This is more of a vlog than a review. After getting every skill to 99, that is to say maxing, and finishing every quest, I've thought that I'd quit this game for good. But as I was browsing video game deals, I've come across a humble bundle deal for a month's subscription to Runescape. And due to it, I've decided to look through a year's and a half worth of content I haven't experienced. Yeah, I'm not exactly a returning player after a decade of zero play, nor am I an old school player, so hopefully this video will be more informative to the newest content RS has to offer if you went AFK for over a year. So what exactly was my intent? What goal did I want to reach next? The Master Questscape is where my eyes were set, even before quitting. That was a mistake, as I trapped myself in a mindset of grinding, which I wanted to avoid as it's the gameplay style that made me quit after maxing. To get a Master Questscape, some skills require you to level past 99. Archaeology requires you to get to 120. This heavily is tied to the lore. Not to mention that high levels of archaeology give a plus 2% boost to leveling, with benefit for all future skills to be released. There was also a Christmas event that promoted XP getting activities instead of just chilling and questing, so I fletched and finished bows and disassembled them for Xmas paper. They had a high XP and oddments return after all. If not now, then I'd waste my time, ironically. My first 2 weeks were this, and the worst part, it was worth it.
Oi you! Shut your mouth and look at my wad! Loads of money!
This is a journey into money. Loads of money.
I forgot to mention the microtransaction I've gotten from the bundle. 900 rune coins to spend on the shop, 35 keys to throw in the wind, and some umbral chests that amounted to 25 mil GP. The keys used on loot boxes are a conflicting topic for me when it comes to Runescape. I've played this game since 2006. The game has progressed where the grind isn't as severe or as click intensive as it used to be. So from the perspective of a veteran, the gotten rewards from microtransactions didn't impact the developer's decision on implementing quality of life improvements over time, nor did they feel required to progress throughout the game. But from a new player's perspective who hasn't experienced the grind before, it might seem tempting. So unfortunately I can't make a good judgment call on this one. I could paint a general brush of microtransactions are bad and be done, but since RuneScape, unlike other MMOs, doesn't do expansions, that is to say, every piece of content is available through membership, would it be fair to say microtransactions are tanking the costs? I don't know, would I rather have to pay a one-time fee for new content on top of membership just so microtransactions weren't here? Call me a slowly boiled frog on this one. Where I can honestly criticize is the cosmetics shop. Out of those 900 rune coins, I've bought some cosmetics, a bank expansion, and a pay-to-convenience legendary pet, which I had no idea how great it is. How shit it is that you have to pay and not earn it in game, but how great it is for convenience. A legendary pet, unlike most other pets, provides perks when summoned. It ranges from giving its literal shit for farming manure, to picking up the most expensive loot drops. He can finish off slayer creatures, save you from death every second hour, bank an item every 10 minutes, and be a beast of burden on top. You can only have 3 perks active of the selected 9, but you're not prevented from swapping them out unless they're on cooldown. And I didn't even know about this until now. Pay to win, FFS, SMH Jagex. Granted, if you're a new player, you can get a legendary pet from Fresh Start Worlds, or if you're capable of saving the byproduct currency from the key loot boxes, oddments, you can exchange those for a shitty looking legendary pet if perks is all you care. But the only options for an old player like me is to get it from the cash store, or from gambling. I colored mine red and called it Rex. So after the grind and the microtransactions, I started to play the game for realsies. Or it's more apt to say I've started to play the game for the first time, as a game. As the feeling of not having to meet level requirements for most activities in the game is really freeing. I've enjoyed doing minigames, run the new mid-level agility course just because, go through newly added archaeology dig locations for the sake of it, even doing herb patch runs, something I've associated with the apex of XP grinding. The game has become fun, and all it took is for skills to no longer impede it. God, what a shitty realization to come to. The thing RuneScape is most known for is the thing that prevented me from enjoying the game. Skilling, or to be more precise, skill requirements. Players should be rewarded for enjoyment of an activity, but when that reward is seen as a goal and not a bonus, the road to get that reward becomes requirements. You no longer want to do content and get coincidentally rewarded for it. You have to do content for a wanted reward. That's my story of getting my maxscape. That could have been my story of getting a master questcape as well. Still, I've completed some old questing content, mainly the Fremennik sagas. One of them is going to be important for the current storyline. Did some odd old man bone hunting too. That one is unimportant. Enjoyment of odd old content is well and good, but I haven't done 2 years worth of new quests, and I guess this is where I tell you the main story of the game so far. And spoil you. RuneScape 3 is a story about gods, powerful assholes who either want power or are hypocrites and still want power. To talk about each one in detail is asking for a lore video, which I won't do. So I'm going to extremely summarize what god represents what. We have Saradomin, Guthix and Zamorak, representing order, balance and chaos respectively. Saren and Zaros representing light and dark. Bandos and Armadil representing war and peace. We are the World Guardian, tasked by a dead god, who slept through most of his life, to wrangle with these assholes to not get our world destroyed. We get into hijinks, helping almost every god in some way until the story shifts into being about elder gods. Actual gods, creators of worlds. They are going to destroy our world by hatching their eggs. So we must figure out how to stop them with the help of everyone thus far, including the powerful asshole low-tier gods. I personally hate this quest direction, and not because in the middle of it we were debating on making a shrubbery for a cosmic being. It's because RuneScape was about local adventures. Then it upped the stakes with gods returning and us having to politically navigate around them. But cosmic god level threats? Too much. So the first mini-quest I return to is Raksha's introduction quest, which isn't much, just a quest to introduce a dinosaur boss battle. We talked to Lenikeia, who saw the purple people eater Zaros snooping as usual, it seems. We end up getting an explanation on the relic monolith we used in archaeology for our powers from the god himself, and about a powerful dinosaur that'd be bad if it were released. So Zaros shits the bed and has confidence we can clean after him, i.e. releases the dino. Quest complete. Boss battle introduction done, boss battle optional. Zaros got to be an asshole. Next up is Tortle Combat, a mini-quest that has nothing to do with the main storyline. That's why it's better. We get to deliver pizza to a bunch of turtles in a sewer. I am too oblivious to know any references. This to me is what RuneScape Quest is all about, local issues that possibly could span into an even bigger storyline. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. We help these turtles by building an agility course for them and giving them weapons. We get a ninja hood cosmetic override. After Zaros' asshole behavior, the only logical continuation of him is to leave. Like, completely leave the story. Like, written off leave. Like JoJo Part 5 Fugo written off. He also leaves an entropy opening for creatures from the unironic Shadow Realm to invade. The battle for the Monolith mini-quest is a set of tower defense battles and of and then story writing. How and then Zaros left. And then creatures from the Shadow Realm invaded. And then we got help. And then the help we got turned on us. The worst is yet to come. The mini-quest was released by week in small chunks, but as someone playing everything in one go, this felt like a quick revisionism of allegiances and relationships quest. One of Zaros' followers also attained godhood, as if replacing Zaros. After the quest, we got a wall's worth of text of a quest that never came to be. God. This has got to be the worst quest in RuneScape. This and then story with mediocre tower defense gameplay, bundled with being told a quest that will never be made. Can we please go back to the turtles? All three quests previously were mini-quests. This next one is an actual quest. The city of Senntisten. The introduction to God Wars 3 dungeon. The eggs, you know, the cosmic eggs that will kill us. We have them in our possession. They were well hidden, but due to Zaros leaving, they're about to hatch and we need to find a better place to defend them. Fortunately, our upgraded 5G Wi-Fi router godfriend, Azanadra, has got a place to defend them. The lost city of Senntisten, uncovered in an archaeology dig. Now, you don't have to be the biggest lore hound in RuneScape to know how big this is. You at least paid attention when getting curses, right? The city of Senntisten was the capital city of the Zarosian Empire. Zaros was the big dick leader back in the day. Once Zamorak pranked him to death, the empire fell, and with many attempts no faction was able to fully claim it. Gone. With time, the city got buried until now. The city's citizens were comprised of many races of fantasy creatures, mostly more archetypically evil, like vampires. So after getting in the Lost City, we're tasked in finding protective shield pylons in an environment that deals damage over time. We smash gargoyles, solve blood wine accounting puzzles, slowly, as I'm immersed in puzzle solving. As we return with a pylon, a god appears to aid us in sucking out the destructive power of the eggs. Whatever problems these lesser gods had with one another, they realized the Yolk is more of a threat than their political opinions. And an emissary of the Elder Gods, Karapak, who we helped get enslaved to the Elder Gods, came to shit-talk us into giving up. Quest complete. So at this point, the content of the Elder God Wars dungeon should be available. I say should be, but due to Jagex's content release philosophy, this content is available to all. No quests are needed to access it. Great, if you don't care about lore, I don't care about delayed input bossing, so this content isn't for me. But hey, here's the introduction to the bosses.
Leng was one of the first planets created by the Elder Gods. It was no paradise, but it birthed an industrious civilization whose name is now long forgotten. When the icy comets appeared in the sky, the people of Leng had no idea what awaited them. The crashing comets wrought devastation as they landed, but something worse rose out of the craters. The incorporeal invaders formed towering suits of armor from the ice they brought with them. That same ice spread across the whole world, covering the cities and freezing their people. Their work done, the Glaciers stood vigil over a silent, dead world for countless eons. When the Elder God, Wen, needed powerful servants, she found them waiting in this inhospitable place. Anathema suffused the planet and its denizens. Could she really unleash them against Gielinor, the hatchery for her precious egg? Unwilling to approach such tainted beings, she opened portals for them and turned her face from the destruction to come.
I was there, in the year of Colossus. The year the fungus killed 50,000 people, and the 10th Legion were annihilated. It was the Second Age, not long after the end of the Caridian campaign. An expedition returned from the unquiet ocean with a very unusual species of fungus. The fools thought they could turn it into a weapon. A botanical plague they could unleash on the enemies of the Empire. They called it Colossus. Its spores infested the bodies of the dead, spreading and growing. After one serious breach, they were ordered to cease their work. They didn't. We razed miles of city to contain it. The Legion were almost completely wiped out. It still wasn't enough. In the end, Lord Zaros was forced to intervene personally. He quarantined this whole district, simply buried it beneath the earth. They say that of all the Elder Gods, Bic holds intelligent life in the greatest contempt. She must have found Colossus beneath the graveyard and revived it. Even now, it feeds on the ancient dead.
My home, my civilization, destroyed. My people, cursed, bound, in pain, united in our suffering. I could not imagine a worse fate. My imagination was lacking. Bound once more to her service, now I suffer alone. The needle, the conduit, the very tools of my oppressor, the source of my power, the walls of my prison. As long as I wield them, I can never be free. But she will not let me give them up. Jas seeks only to preserve what is left of her kind. For that, she would trade the universe. The only thing that matters to me now is my freedom. Let everything else wither.
Zook. I have been a chieftain, a gladiator, a warlord, a demigod. I was born into a world where all were free. Then the Empire came, conquered my people, threw me into the pits. I was to die there. Nothing could challenge me. Demons, dragons, and vampires fell to my blade. From the great tribune Torva, I won back my freedom. I went in search of worthier foes. Beneath a distant volcano, I found the ultimate arena. The Tok'ha, who shaped the mountains at the dawn of time, battled endlessly. They fell all the same. The God Wars called to me. The Tok'ha would not follow, but the lava beasts would. We carved through the weak surface dwellers effortlessly. It was only Bandos himself who stopped me. Coward. He chained me within the kiln. Fool wants the eggs, but I pay no heed to her desires. I seek only the glory of combat. Is anyone in this alliance worthy? Refuse me, and your world will end.
Maybe one day. Celebrating RuneScape's 20th anniversary, the game received a mini questline, Once Upon a Time in Gielinor. We're back to wacky adventuring. The quest is about a housemaid who decided to follow Sliske. It's about Sliske's emissary, bringing a sort of wrap-up to an unexplored character which steals our identity, kills us, and we're in Afterlife's bureaucratic limbo. We're waiting in line, and as fun as it would be to explain joke by joke, you just have to play it yourself to understand why it's fun. It's a story about someone who wants to be like us, an adventurer capable of slaying demons, dragons, and vampires. We also get to be somewhat of a quest giver even, awarding 1 quest point. But celebrations end and we're back to the world-ending cracking of eggs storyline. I have Het mini-quests are nothing more than a tour guide of the Elder Gods Wars dungeons and the new Het's Oasis that replaced Duel Arena. No more staking, only agility with crocodiles. Also Zamorak bails in helping with the eggs, prompting the finale of the Elder Sunnyside Up questline Extinction. We start by talking with Moya, who has been graphically reworked. Again. Accompanying her is Saradomin's daughter. We're like the next generation of Saradomin, Gothics, and Zamorak, or something. Entering Senntisten, we battle through a mock-up of the bosses, just to signifying this is where the canonical battle would have taken place. Saren, the goddess of light and life, in all her wisdom, decides she's so pro-life she can't let the universe-ending eggs be allowed to be destroyed, so she flees. Now we're on a goose chase throughout all the worlds we previously visited before, just to track her down. I guess this is for some the introduction of these worlds. You see, RuneScape doesn't do expansions, it just releases updates in chunks, when they're ready. As such, questlines at some point reset in requirements and difficulty, so new players most likely would experience the story by the beginning of arcs rather than a pure linear experience. I sure was confused when returning to RuneScape. I did Missing Presumed Death, while haven't had completed the World Wakes. Sliske's endgame is another climax which resets requirements after that. I didn't care that much about the difficulty of quests being reset as much as rehashing the same story beats due to players possibly not having experienced it before. Case in point, Naragon, the homeworld of Gothics, displays the destructive power of power-hungry gods. This has got to be at least the 3rd time we're here and being told how this destruction came to be. Maybe it's just in case players forget. Karapak, our best friend which we betrayed to the Elder Gods, chases us. Our chase of Saren while being chased by Karapak ends in Freneske, a world destroyed by the rebirth of the previous cycle of the Elder God eggs. Karapak, not really wanting his slave master to win, helps us by delaying the god, while we explore Erebus, the Shadow Realm. A fissure of it just opened in front of us. Maybe it's just happenstance, maybe it's Zaros. He does shit the bed in mysterious ways. So how do we beat one of the creators of the universe? By having a Lovecraftian horror take it to the delete bin of the universe.
It was Karapak that broke the balance. Heedless of the terrible pain his defiance earned him, he directed the full force of his artifacts towards their creator. The monstrous intruder dragged its prey back into its own realm. Without the needle, Karapak was powerless to avoid the same fate. Its hunger satisfied, the breach snapped shut, leaving in its place a terrible silence. Jas was the greatest of us all. Irreplaceable. Her loss forced me to accept something. Your survival depends on our deaths.
Saren, confronted by this realization, decides to transport the eggs to one of our companions' homeworld, letting them hatch. Since this isn't our world, the best we can do is try to evacuate as much of the home race as possible. The best way to do this is to delay the remaining Elder God's arrival by battling Saren. This boss battle is an endurance survival battle. See, we're still just mortal. While the previous feat is cosmically impressive, all we did is poke and anger an Eldritch God. So we battle and try to delay Saren. This battle just reminded me why I don't do bossing in Runescape. The telegraphing of an attack, my response, and the game's response time is just too clunky. I have to respawn before the telegraph to not get damage. Fortunately, after some tries, I delay Saren enough. After delaying as best we could, we run to the world gate to flee back to our homeworld. Moya closes it before we could get to it. Oh no, we've been betrayed by a Zamorakian. By the power of bullshit, we and Saren survive while everything else dies. Said bullshit is the powers we possibly gotten from exploring Erebus. GG Saren, you, the goddess of life, have killed the most out of any god. She promises to stay with the newly hatched Elder Gods and to never return to Gielinor, our homeworld. Teleported back, we confront Moya. She skedaddles. Guess the next threat is Zamorak. War's retreat definitely didn't spoil that. We inform the remaining gods of what had transpired. We did our duty of being the world guardian. Quest complete. Finally, we're done with the cosmic threat. All in all, I'm glad we didn't beat it. Just offloaded the problem to a different universe. And Saren, while a goddess of genocide and pro-life, she promises she won't bring the Elder Gods to any other world. Is a promise good enough? For now. Maybe forever. Maybe it's beyond our lifespan and we don't need to confront her ever again. That sounds like a Time Guardian problem to me anyway. Saren, you're an asshole. Glad we're done with you. The threat we face now is once again back to being the squabbles of lesser gods. And the next quest is called the Twilight of the Gods. Boy, that sounds intense. This quest can be split into two parts. If there's any new quest that could have been split, it's this one. Part 1 of the quest, we explore a presumed abandoned section of Senntisten. Why? Well, we find that Gregorovic, Slisky's general, was actually a demon that ate old Gregor and has a mental illness called superimposed personality disorder. A disorder that demons get when they eat someone's soul. They start believing they're someone else. So it's a sequel to Broken Home. The quest is about finding a cure for SIPD. We meet some new friendly demons that also are looking for a cure. Now this is what RuneScape questing is all about. Going through an asylum full of demons, but with the twist of actually helping the non-hostile demons. It's all a puzzle. Once done, we get information of Zamorak's plans, visit the Zamorakian dig site, confirm that a demon invasion is going to happen, or is happening, not that we see it in-game. The voice in our head tells us to do the impossible. Banish the god Zamorak from this world by re-erecting the Edicts of Guthix. Simple lore explanation, the edicts were something that prevented gods from entering our world, but were destroyed when Guthix got shanked in his sleep. Now having World Guardian powers, TM, we decide to do what previously we didn't do for some reason. Did we really need permission from the other gods? We assemble Gothic's followers to confirm if it's possible. It is. We do some testing and find out we're just a mortal being, only capable of turning the edicts on. Once on, we can't turn them off or give a grace period for other gods to leave. We are not banishing only Zamorak. We are banishing every god. Oh my god. Not that I will have a god after this. Informing the remaining gods on our side, which looking at them there isn't much left, of our plans, they all agree to leave. Quest complete. Goodbye voices in my head that were apparently not Sliske. Aftermath is a mini-quest to this entire god saga. It just requires you to finish the new elite dungeon, the final front for the Elder God Wars dungeon, where we fight Zamorak and erect the edicts during the boss fight.
I am Zamorak. My life has been long, and throughout it I have lived by one maxim: liberty or death. Runescape was the perfect world. Harsh, but fair. Survival forced my people to become the greatest of warriors. When the stranger promised us conquest and plenty, we followed him. It was a mistake. On Gielinor, I built a mighty empire in the name of the dark god Zaros. But he and I did not share the same vision for the future. When I saw freedom, he saw only control. My people, once warriors, became priests, bureaucrats, sanitation engineers. To win their freedom, I struck down a god. To safeguard it, I became one. On Infernus, I led a downtrodden people to victory. Hostilius, a corpulent monster grown fat and indolent, maintained order through rules and laws. His laws did as little to protect him as his skin did. I strung up his corpse as a message for all to see. Such is the fate of all tyrants. The Avernic demons, now free, serve me willingly. Back on Gielinor, pretenders picked over the remains of my empire. For an age I battled them. An age of strife, of progress, of glory. While I fought on, none could establish the safety, the security that they so craved. For an age, Gielinor was truly free. But they conspired against me, and I was banished. In my long absence, this world has become weak. Saradomin's fingers are wrapped tightly around its throat, suffocating it. My demon army will make short work of its farmers, woodcutters, and fishermen. The survivors will be stronger. They will have no choice. Gielinor's people will be free, or they will die. Liberty or death.
As mentioned previously, bossing ain't my jam, but what better way to learn boss mechanics than to do the story difficulty rather than looking up guides, right Jad? Fuck you too. Zamorak? Oh yeah, get sucked out, God of Chaos. Wish there was a cutscene here, or at least the music would have ended. Bit confused. Now all that's left is to say goodbye to Saradomin, Armadil, and Zanandra. I can't say this perfectly ends the entire god arc of Runescape. They just can't return to Gielinor. We can visit other worlds, so the possibility of them fucking us over is still there. More so now that we lost our World Guardian powers, TM, due to our powers deriving from a god, so they got sucked out too. In my opinion, I'd rather we didn't deal with gods ever again. rather they're believers. Not only because the local level of strife seems more suited to RuneScape's quest, but also because almost every god reached their story arc conclusion. Saradomin has realized he can't be a tyrant that knows best just because he's very old. Armadil, while seeking justice and peace, is the only one to kill a god, and has accepted the bullshit gods bring to mortals. The story of Guthix dying at the start of this journey and giving us the task to protect this planet is complete. Saren, seeking being loved not by her godly passive aura, is taking care of the elder god children who can't be manipulated by her power. Bandos, the god of war, died to a gay furry. Zarus and Azanadra are the only ones that feel incomplete, and just because Zarus is described as mysterious, their arcs shouldn't be at an end. With no protection, we would be weak to Zarus' passive manipulation, so I'm not sure how their story could possibly continue with us involved. All in all, I'm pleasantly surprised I returned to the game to witness the end of an arc that started around the release of RuneScape 3 back in 2013. Now, I'm not done with questing just yet. We have a new Age of Chaos arc. It's about Moya, the one that closed the world door on us. With Zamorak gone, the Chaos faction is in chaos. There's a civil war going on between the demons and the Majorat. The updates come trickling in with the Wilderness rework and the Herb Patch rework. I'll just be brief, as the story can once again be accessed with little requirements, so you can experience it too, if you return. We get to play as Moya in these quests to experience the strife going on, something we did way back in the Fremennik saga. The questline ends with the establishment of who leads the Saradomists and Zamorakian factions. Who could it be? Who could it be? That's all for questing, which is the main content I enjoy. Hope there's more hijinks adventures now with the cosmic threat being averted. Questing isn't the only content RuneScape gets updated with. As mentioned before, the whole new Gods Wars dungeon was released. With it, some archaeology spots for extra lore exploration. The herb patches got reworked with a quality of life update. Now when you plant herbs, you get points you can spend on upgrading farming. You can plant multiple herb seeds, making herbs that much more enjoyable. At least for me, who doesn't have to worry about getting 99 farming. The duel arena is gone. In its place, a new level 65 agility course gets added, and hunting scarabs while controlling a crocodile. Again, it's fun for me, as I don't have to worry about getting 99s. The biggest update since I returned has got to be the Wilderness rework. Essentially, PvP is gone. Not that it wasn't dead for a decade, instead you get monsters spawn randomly while you're going about in the wilderness, harkening back to when random events would interrupt your skilling. They're far more frequent than a PKer appearing, so the wilderness is more dangerous than it was. It also has events that happen every hour, and I gotta say, they really make you feel like it's 2007. There's so many players and I can't see shit. Good update. Can finally relax in your lava. 10 out of 10. Does this mean I permanently return to RuneScape? No. I will remain an AFK-like player for the most part, as there is no endgame I want to reach in this game. Bossing is something I'm wary of doing. The game's response time is too clunky for me, even with the death cost being essentially removed, as it only costs 0.1% of your inventory value. I rather see combat in other games. Customization of your character seems not to be a priority for Jagex, as the character rework seems to be shelved. That's not the only issue I have with customization though. I'm fond of the items I myself earn in-game, thus I would like to display them on my character at all times. RuneScape does have a system in place, only that it's a cash shop item and it only functions per piece of equipment. So if I want to display, say, my Masterwork armor on my character, which I crafted myself, it would cost me 6 keepsake keys, which would cost 11 euros to display my achievement. That's not the biggest problem here though. I would be unable to use the armor as an armor, only as a cosmetic. Now I can remove it from the cosmetic override, but it destroys the slots I bought and I would need to buy it again. I'm fine with how my character looks, but it doesn't display my armor I personally achieved. The only exception is my Maxscape. Speaking of my Maxscape, I will lose it once a new skill gets released and I would have to re-earn it. This leads me to saying something very stupid. I don't want new content in the game if it means I will lose something. I can't imagine what I would have felt if I had the Master Questscape and came back to FHE Incubator being released a year before, past the grace period. That would require me to do 12 times, meaning it would take a year to get back the cape. Earning something for the first time is well and good. Getting it taken from you and having to do content rather than wanting to do content is work. I currently can see all the content required of me to earn the cape, and I can make a decision. But what if new content gets released which I wouldn't do for said cape? What if Ports 2 gets released tomorrow. So my suggestion to Jagex is to grandfather in everyone who has a Master Quest cape or a Completionist cape. Maybe have a degraded version with no particles, I don't know. Personally, what I'm saying is going for such capes is something I wouldn't go hard for. Losing max cape will sting. Hopefully, I won't feel a need to get 99 Necromancy once it's out. The other customization of MMOs is housing, but in RuneScape it's outdated content. There seems to be some rumbling about a construction rework, but it looks like the focus is going to be on a constructible fort, somewhat similar to what Manor Farms was to farming, meaning player housing is going to remain dead content. All hail Bob, the only remaining god in Gielinor. The only other type of endgame content left would be PvP, but with the removal of the duel arena and the wilderness being reworked, Jagex isn't catering to such gamers. It doesn't have to be dangerous PvP, it could be minigames, but those are dead. So, where does this leave me? Having enjoyed questing and coming back in a year or so, to see what's new again. Maybe I will come back to Necromancy, maybe I will be a loathsome dung eater and return during summer. Don't know. Should you play RuneScape? If you're new, I can't really tell. My early game began in 2006 and now it's 2023. The game has changed too much for me to know what the new player experience is. The microtransactions don't affect me, but it might affect someone new. Don't think Iron Man mode is the solution either, as why would you play an MMO as a single player game? If you had maxed and sat through till the end of this video, try it and see how it goes. Will you be like me in the beginning and get sucked in the same cycle of the grind? If so, at least you'll know not to return for sure, as you have an unhealthy relationship with the game. Or maybe you'll be like me at the end, having tried and enjoyed new content without worrying about XP waste, just enjoying playing with crocodiles with no care.